YouTube, welcome back. We're starting a new arc. The fragments have been connected. So we're gonna be going into something new. Something called Kotohogushi? We're almost done, man. We've been through it, huh? Before I even start, just want to give a quick shout out. For some if you're interested in some more Higurashi content, one of my viewers who watch another series named Jack. He is now playing through Higurashi, and I convinced him to stream it. And it's been a great time. So if you're like, damn, I wanna watch a fresh playthrough of Higurashi from someone who knows barely anything about it besides the one character going Nipa, then I'll link the stream in the description below. He's a very entertaining guy. It's a good time. Plus, I'll probably be there, so you can talk to me too. But yeah, um, if you want a fresh playthrough of like the main story, check out the link in the description below. But yeah, we're doing Kotohogushi first. Then we're gonna get into this stuff. And then I guess we'll end off with the bathing suit episode. That should be funny. Funny. Anyways. What's happening? Oh shit, Hinamizawa is burning. This art can be read after completing Matsubashi. Oh, seems like it's afterwards. But apparently I'm supposed to read this first because Miyotsushi spoils this, apparently. So we're gonna read this now. Spoils the ending to this or something. A legend of Hanyu's distant past when Hinamizawa was still known as Onidofuchi Village. Okay. Hanyu backstory. We know a bit of this. From Matsubashi.
ほんの少しの違いによって生まれたとある不思議な物語。誰かのために懸命に生きて、誰かのために懸命に願った一つの家族の絆の物語。
Bam, 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 bam. It was a truly gruesome sight. The plants were burned. The earth was scorched. Ashes danced in the scorching fumes, the crimson blaze illuminating the dark night as it incinerated the plants, the houses, and the fields. And the ground itself was littered with piles of corpses that had been reduced to flesh and blood. Vast fear and despair dwelled in the area. The stench of death turning into hideous scorched deposits as far as the eye could see. Grr. Countless roaring behemoths stood tall surrounding the flames. What the fuck's happening? Long, sharp claws grew from their arms, muscular as tree trunks. Their mouths were torn to their ears, bearing their sharp, ominous fangs. They were a clan accompanied by many companions and servants, and boasted absolute power that struck fear into the hearts of the innumerable villagers, a so-called clan of demons. Actual Onis? Real lore? Hold on. 1 second. Okay. On mere whims, they would attack the villages, weed crop fields, and slaughter and massacre man and beast alike. To powerless humans, these creatures were to be avoided at any cost. Many of these very demons were sliced limb from limb and pierced straight in the heart, reducing them to chunks of meat and littered the landscape. That littered the landscape. A literal pile of corpses. If any epitome of the word nightmare existed in this world, it would be the spectacle that had just unfolded right then and there. Having always believed themselves to be the strongest, they couldn't accept this reality. Thus they were rooted in place in confusion, or rather, fear. I always assumed, like, from my assumption of Hanyu, I always just assumed, like, Rena was right. She was an alien and she landed and then she created Hinamizawa syndrome because she's an alien. I didn't actually think the Anis were real. Onis, I should say. An even larger demon emerged from a short distance behind the other demons. Though they have them in quotations. Just some foreigners or something, but it seemed from the way they're describing it, I think they really are Oni. The humans in the village called it the chief, for it understood human language and could suppress its murderous instincts. It had also possessed far greater power than the other demons. Furthermore, the demons followed its orders as their leader, believing and never doubting its absolute might and menace. But this time, the chief's load route contains an echo of bewilderment, as well as fear that went beyond that. They were already on the level of shivers, which only grew stronger after it recognized the presence moving within the roaring hot flames. What's a Putus observer? This deep Higurashi lore. Despite that, the demon dog gazed sinisterly at the blazing wall of flames to ward off their unrest, roaring as they bared their claws and fangs at the ready. All their muscles were bursting to their limits, filled with an atrocious power. Their violent instincts swelled so much that all their joints creaked. However, their bodies quivered and their hearts pounded all the more fiercely. The ceaseless beads of sweat that dripped down their entire bodies weren't simply from the flames and the intensity of the fight. Oh shit. Yi Samul, aka Hanyu? What the fuck? Just kinda dripped out. Eventually a figure emerged from the flames and revealed its form. Its throat fluttered with its calm steps as its long bluish-purple hair danced in the wind. Did something fall? I have no idea. Does it's probably fine. Hold on. Furthermore, a pair of sharp, ominous horns were sticking out of its head exactly like the demons. It slowly but surely walked across the charred earth, stepping out in front of the demons. At first glance, it appeared to have the dainty statue of a human woman, but its slender arm gracefully held out a dully shining sword as long as a willow leaf. And even at this moment, its tip was dripping, with copious and seemingly endless amounts of fresh blood. That moment, one of the building's few remaining pillars crumbled and instantly added to the strength of the fire. The empowered flame lit the figure's back, and the moment its expressionless face was illuminated, the demon shuddered. Oh shit. Full shot. It was unbelievable. No, it shouldn't have been believable. It was completely unharmed. Its breathing was unperturbed, and its face reflected not even a hint of tension. The only signs of anything abnormal were the splatters of mud and blood on its cloak. And its concealed eyes, steeped in scarlet, were sharp and cold. It stared haughtily at the row of demons with a gaze so cruel it made them flinch. They made doubly sure they'd been prepared for the ambush, and things proceeded just as envisioned. They lured it into the village official's estate when they had been using as a base and surrounded the residents with overwhelming numbers. Then, when the time was ripe, they activated the explosives they set, smart demons, blowing the ground to smithereens. In exchange, half of their forces, unable to evacuate in time or with no time at all, were engulfed by the flash and the shockwave, vanishing without a trace. And it would have its avenue of escape blocked by the demons, resulting in either death or fatal injury. At least that had been the plan. However... Oh shit. It's adult Hanya. She's old. Look at the drip, man. Dripped out of the wazoo. The face, illuminated by the flames, held not the slightest indication of pain, much less emotion. There's no anger, no pity, not even a smile. And its glistening jade eyes were stained blood red. Those very eyes shot a glare as sharp as a blade at the demons, exuding a fierce light. Jedha family name. What the?
そなたら下道に落ちた者の小賢しき手にかかるほど落ちぶれてはおらぬ。とはいえ、従う者たちの命さえもたばかって蒔絵にするとは。水郷も過ぎるがな。
Wow. Unable to bear their fear and despair, the bewildered demons roared and charged at Jedha. They ran like the wind, closing the gap at a speed too fast for eyes to perceive. As soon as they approached, they swung their giant claws, bared their sharp fangs, and swooped down on her. They would use their numbers and strength to catch their opponent by surprise, then launch a fierce onslaught that wouldn't give her time to muster her battle spirit or even counterattack. The resulting bewilderment would impair her judgment. That indecision, sprouting from hesitation, would disrupt her attention. Nope. Not enough. Gagoo! Oh shit. Jamming. Jedha's sword slashes were imperceptible to the naked eye. They merely left afterimages that were burned into their retinas, but not even the chief's eyes could tell how Jedha had swung her sword, or even how she'd slayed her opponents. Furthermore, a few seconds later, the air shook with delayed slash gusts and death cries, and the earth shook over and over again at the same moment those sounds were heard. Wing. The demons had been cut down one after another. Sorry, I'm not making those demon noises. A figure clearly approached, taking one calm step at a time. Dark red clouds of blood splattered, danced, and dispersed in tune with those footsteps. The raw, iron-like stench slowly but surely grew thicker and thicker. Scream. Occasionally that figure swayed from side to side like a mirage, but the glinting eyes remaining unwavering filled the brilliant radiance that pierced the chief like an arrow. This unrealistic sight was like a dream. Yes, like something straight out of a nightmare. Faced with that, the chief's body froze up, with even its breath and thoughts grinding to a halt. Before long, when the chief himself could finally hear those breaths that were unlike his own, Jedha suddenly stopped. With that short breath, Jedha shook the blood from her soul and pointed the tip at the chief. When he finally came back to his senses and looked around, he found all his fellow demons had been slain by Jedha. And so, the chief finally realized that he and Jedha were the only ones left standing. It happened in a flash. The chief kicked off the earth and closed the gap between him and Jedha the moment she took a breath. I wasn't expecting this is like an action visual novel right now. It's kind of sick. Before his opponent even had time to take up an intercept stance, he raised his massive arms and flashed his long, sharp claws as he slashed at the figure, standing defenseless right in front of him. However... Ooh, shit. Jedha had already vanished, leaving nothing but thin air for his fists to cleave as they slammed into the ground. And then... Lout! The moment he realized that whisper had come from behind him, the chief was knocked aside faster than he could turn around, in spine-tingling fear. A single flash of light shone at that moment, followed by a pregnant pause. Pregnant pause? What does that even mean? Then an ear-splitting howl of the wind. And just a second later, a tree near where the chief had been standing fell to the ground with a thud. Putus. Jedha flipped her hair back, and at the same time, the moment the chief felt a burning, sharp pain run through his right shoulder and the base of his left leg, spurts of blood followed. He'd only dodged the first blow. Jedha's plan had been to slash at him again once he broke his posture, exposing an opening. And that wasn't all. One of his arteries were severed, as if that had been the target all along, gushing torrents of blood, even though the wound shouldn't have been that deep. Putus. The chief trembled in shock, completely forgetting about the bleeding and immense pain. Despite them being in different positions, he was a Ryuin, just like Jedha, and yet the gulf between them was deeply pronounced. Even if she was the strongest, she could be hurt once she grew exhausted, so he planned to whittle down her stamina and overwhelm her with numbers immediately afterwards. Yet it was only now that the chief finally realized how naive his scheme had been. Gah! The chief swung his arms wildly in excess irritation and panic. Those cleaving flashes became gales that cut through thin air. His blows gouged out the earth and left deep claw marks. But he missed. He hit no one. His desperate attack that used all his might. And his arms, claws, and fangs that had been harrowing death and fear to this village and the surrounding settlements were completely powerless. What's more, his attacks weren't even dodged or parried. Just can't hit her physically. The chief went on a rampage, unleashing a blood-curdling roars from the pit of his throat while slashing at Jedha over and over again. Yet she passed through his blows like they were mirages. He couldn't even graze her. Not her legs, not her arms, and of course not her face, her hair dancing in the darkness, or even the cloak moving in tune with her. Furthermore, Jedha slashed at every small opening he presented, piercing his limbs, breaking his joints, severing his nerves, and gradually denying his mobility. Yeah! It wasn't a matter of speed. It was something more. A difference in dimension, of an ability that they didn't even possess. Yeah! Then, with the tendons in his leg sliced, the chief could stand no longer and crumbled to his knees. He couldn't raise his arms anymore, let alone swing them. But Jedha just calmly looked down at his tattered body from up close, pointed her blood-stained sword at his nose, and decreed, "Get up."
しまいなのか。
Girl.
その程度か。その程度なのか。いや、そうではあるまい。仮にもリューンの血を引き、ピュトゥスを名乗るお前が多くの生命を犠牲にして
Putis
得
with
たもの。
Ryun blood.
この程度である。
This is all new lore, by the way.
さあ、早くここでお前の全力を見せるがいい。立て。そのためにお前の爪や牙
Oh
は
shit. She's just flexing on this guy at this point. He's getting washed.
こいつまだそこがあるのか。
リューンの方は罪と罰に等価を求める。故にお前には義務がある。これまでに買ってきた哀れな人間たち、破滅へと導いていった同胞たちへの仕打ちと同じように、私を存分に楽しませ、長き清掃の束の間の慰めとしてその煮えとなる義務、それこそがお前にふさわしき報い。
Yow.
さ
Awoo.
あ立て、そして踊れ。前、魂を燃やし尽くし、血を絞り出して戦え。
Jesus.
その血と本能に従って戦え。憎しみと恨みを持って戦え。戦え、戦え。そして我が手にかかって死ね。
撤収だ。我一人ではかなわぬ。違いすぎる。
Can you run away, though? The chief, no longer hiding his fear, kicked off the ground and turned around, dashing in the opposite direction of Jedha. However, swing.
逃げる資格はお前にはない。
Jedha closed the gap between her and the chief in the blink of an eye, attacked from behind and pierced his lung. In that very moment, a geyser of blood erupted from his split mouth, dyeing all before him red.
ジェダの務めに未遂の文字はない。初段を下すか殺すか殺されるか、それが監視者としての定めであり、我が在業。
Sure, I'm skipping her lines. She talking slower than I'm perceiving. I'll try not to. Kahi! Kahi!
罪なきこの地の弱者たちを襲い、もてあそんで殺した貴様。安寧の日々を送っていた同胞たちを惑わせ、狂気へと駆り立てた貴様。その罪は重く許しがたし、故にこれまでの過ちを記憶から掘り起こし、苦しみもだえながらしばしの時間
Talk to him. Talk down to
存
him.
在とともに財宝を悔い改めるがいい。
Jedha pulled out her sword with those words, went around in the front of the chief, gasping from immense pain and a lack of oxygen, and began chanting faintly. Her armored sleeve covering her left forearm disappeared, as if acting in concert with that, exposing her white skin. Furthermore, after roughly wiping her bloody blade with her cloak, Jedha drew her body back to a half stance, then ran her sword down her left arm. Blood spilled from the faint wound she opened, staining her sword once again. Then Jedha pulled her right hand back, as if drawing a longbow, holding the sword aloft in a thrusting stance. Oh shit. There we go. House of Jedha, Ryun Heist. What's happening, dude? Look at that, though. Kind of going crazy. Tears in her eyes.
我ら竜雲の民が天より授かりしたからは、誇り高き過去、美しき現在、そして満ち足りた未来。
Gah, gah.
なれど掟を破りし同胞に許されるのはそのうちの一つのみ。最後に今一度問う。そなたが欲するのは過去か現在かそれとも未来か。
Key, key.
助けてか
The key.
許してか。
The glint in Jedha's eyes sharpened and intensified with her whispers. There was no anger in it, nor joy, just her pride as an emotionless observer and executioner. Therefore,
今までにそう愛願した連中に対して
classic
貴様
line.
は何をした。
She had no room for compassion, nor the ear to hear out her target's
空
pleas.
に星を緑に花を悪しき夢には沈黙の歌。貴様の未来はすでに虚無の中にあり故にここで散れ。
Swing, da da, da da.
ハイリーンヤーソムールジェダ。
You can kinda make Hanyu out of Hyrule, kinda. Hanyu? Is that where it comes from?
死神の名同胞の名を汚す知れ人よ。コンパクトともに行くがいい。はあ
I think he's dead. Yeah. Hey, the sad song. Jedha looked at the face of a man lying down in the shadow of a collapsing house and sighed. Not only had he suffered deeper wounds and blood loss than the other corpses, but his medulla oblongata had also been destroyed. Judging from the wounds littering his body, he desperately fought out of obligation to protect that which he held dear, despite possessing no combat skills. Hello, Ryun Ohek.
もうすぐ屋敷の中に仕掛けられた残りの爆薬が引火します。
What just happened?
分かっている。避難民はどうなった。
問題ありません。シーツェン・ジェダが追っ手をすべて撃破しました。
The Jedha clan.
もはやグリフィスの気配はどこにも存在しません。
そうか。
However, Jedha defied the voice echoing directly in her brain and headed toward a room further in. During the fight, she sensed something in this house for but the briefest of moments.
勘が正しければこの付近に生存者がいるはず。
Furthermore, the existence of the corpse who fought back with all his might just outside added credibility to that possibility. So even though Jedha had been about to leave, she decided to search a little more carefully and entered the room. Suddenly, she crouched down to pick up something she just spotted on the floor. It was a small doll. There was a floorboard not too far from where it had been lying that was sticking up slightly. Finding it unusual, Jedha pried it open and found a small storeroom beneath the floorboard. She spotted a woman lying on the ground there out of the corner of her eye. The woman was protecting a baby in her arms. She was probably its mother, but the woman was bleeding heavily and had already ceased breathing. Despite that, the child seemed to just be barely alive. Jedha immediately held out her arm to save it, but then she stopped midway through. Life for the people in this region was by no means easy. She wouldn't go so far as to call them poor, but it took everything they had just to provide for their families. But it would take a few years just to return to the standard of living they had before this mayhem. Jedha could have easily imagined how an orphaned infant with no means to provide for itself in that aftermath would fare. They'd almost certainly live a life so harsh that death would be preferable.
それならば母のそばで。
Damn. That was what she told herself. And so, figuring the least she could do was give it a merciful death, Jedha raised her sword. And then she thrust the tip straight into the child's throat.
ジェダ
リュウンオーク、この付近で生存者たちが避難した居場所はわかるか？
どうするおつもりです？
Dasu?
気まぐれだ。多少脚色が必要だろうがな。
Jedha took the baby from its mother's arms, then gently wiped its face covered in blood and mud. Oh shit.
今はもう昔
She
の
know.
話。この地に突然悪い鬼たちが遠い山を越えてやってきました。鬼たちは食べ物を
I remember that picture
家畜を襲
from
い、
Mayatashi.
村人たちに悪さをして暴れ回っていました。しかし村人たちは何もできませんでした。それを守ろうとして
I slipped!
村人たちはいつも家の中に閉じこもって鬼たちから隠れて暮らすようになりました。夜だけでなく昼間も雨の日も晴れの日も。それでも鬼たちはまるで狩りを楽しむように人家を襲い村人を殺し続けました。やがて田畑から食べ物がなくなり家の蓄えも底をつきかけて、彼らが死を覚悟したある日のこと、村外れの沼から一人の神様が現れたのです。
Oh shit, that's kind of fire, honestly. Look at that.
神様には鬼たちと同じように角がありました。そのためでも神様が人を襲うことはありませんでした。それどころか真剣を振るい鬼たちを次々に退治して回り、ついには彼らの王をも倒してしまったのです。その後神様は山の洞穴に避難していた村人の一人の前にやってきて赤ん坊を差し出しながら言いました。
この子は我が魂の宿るものなり。
Ooh.
故にこの子を育て血を絶やすことなく大切に敬い。
And this is the start of the Furude family? Probably.
さすれば我はお前たちを鬼たちから守り、この村は永遠に栄えるだろう。
その赤ん坊は男の子でした。
Hanyu's wife, I think? Or
村人た
wife,
ちは
husband.
神様がこの村を
I kinda remember the lore.
心から感謝し、その言葉通り大切に自分たちの守り神の生まれ変わりとして育てることにしました。そして彼らは角の生えた神様がやってきた沼を鬼ヶ淵と名付け、神様によって守られたこの村はいつしか鬼ヶ淵村と呼ばれるようになりました。
The legend of Onidafuchi's village's Oyasho-sama. I guess we're stopping here. Short episode, but it is what it is. Pretty action-packed, though. That went kind of cray-cray. Thank you guys for checking out this episode. Looks like it's gonna be wild, I guess. I don't know. We're probably time skipping a bit. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the Hanyu backstory, or should I say the Jedha clan backstory. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you then. Peace.